Oh, Petr Yan. Petr Yan has a visa to get into the United States, right? He's got the upcoming fight, Aljo Sterling, rematch. But his cornermen were denied, all of them. So what do? Interesting spot. Very hard. By the way, you want to know the answer to this? It's none of our goddamn business. Whatever Peter tells us, we're going to have to respect. But if we're attempting to guess, okay, put myself in his shoes. I got to go fight somewhere. Clayton can't come. That would not be my call. The way my team work, it would not be that call. That would be up to Clayton. If Clayton was to say, champ, go do it, we're good, I'll be right there with you. Or if he was to say, we're not doing it until I could physically be there, that would have been up to him. Whatever Clayton said. But Clayton would have sent me. That's just how our dynamic was. I'm not judging whatever and how this is going to play out with Petr Yan. But Clayton would have sent me. And in most sports, that is the way it goes. I mean, there's a number of players. You got your coach, you got your team, you got everything in professional sports. You get traded. You're in some other town with new coaches today, right now. Be a professional and start playing. Listen to these guys, whether you bonded with them or not. It's one of those things. That's the way that it goes. I even look at the amateurs, whether that's the NCAA or the Olympics. But athletes are groomed and they're trained from their childhood coaches to their high school coaches, and they get bought in the form of a scholarship. They go off. These are their new guys. This is who they're going to listen to on day one. And I've never seen where that's a problem. I've never seen where anybody complains. They got familiar with the coaches. They saw something. They knew somebody there. They liked them in the first place. They signed a letter of intent. Now that's where they go to school. If you were to take it to the Olympics, by example, everybody has their own coach, but then the organizing body, which in this country, the USOC, will pick the coaches. You may have never even met the guy. Now it's the biggest competition of your life, the world or the Olympic Games. Biggest of your life. You don't know anyone that's with you. You just know that they're with you, and I've never seen it not work. I've never even heard of an athlete that didn't get the result he wanted and then turned and blamed the coach that the United States Olympic Committee put in his corner. Now, that's not apples to apples. There's a meaningful difference. The examples that I just laid out, getting traded in the pros, being in Olympic competition, being under the NCAA banner, you know that and you expect it. You get it when you go in, so you don't have any shock. Petr Yan is in a field where that is not what he was expecting, where there is going to be shock, and now we're just left with the question of how's he going to deal with it. Look, if there's any fighter out there that could probably go and do this by himself, it's Petr Yan. And Peter's going to have a number of people that are here in the States that love him and support him, that he is familiar with, that can fill into some of those spots. He's a likable guy who's very well connected, and he's got the best manager in the business. It's still a unique situation, and fighting is a very personal sport. People say, well, it shouldn't be personal. It is personal, and yes, it should be personal. There are wimps that tell you shouldn't put emotion into it. Hell yes, we're going to put emotion into it. There was a time, you guys remember Vladimir Matyshenko? They called him the janitor. And Vladimir Matyshenko was a great wrestler, and I believe he came from Belarus. But he made it into the UFC all the way to a world title fight opposite Tito Ortiz. Now, I have no idea what happened with his cornermen. I don't know if it was a visa issue. I don't know if it was a hangover issue. I don't know if he just didn't buy them plane tickets to start with. But it was a world title fight, main event on television. And Vladimir Matyshenko at that time had the skills and the resume to be a real problem for Tito Ortiz. Vladimir had no corner. When the fight happened, he had no corner. This fight was 20 years ago. He never got a corner. Vladimir Matyshenko walked out there when they called his name. And there's even a break between rounds, 2 or 3 of the rounds, where Vladimir stands up and somebody hands him a water bottle. That dude is just dude. There's been all sorts of rumors on who the guy was that was supplying water for Matyshenko. Everybody from it was a commission official to it was a fan to it was an employee somewhere with the production team that got on the internet. Somebody saw that he had nobody in his corner, got a water, and started running it to him between rounds, okay? So, I mean, this has been tested before. I understand how that result went for Matyshenko. I just don't know if that was credited to the lack of a corner or more credit should be put on his opponent, Tito Ortiz, who fought a great fight. But either way, this has happened, and I halfway can relate to it. I used to play that game when I was in college. We would have 2 rooms in wrestling, very common for tournaments. You'd have a little back room that nobody wanted to be in, then you'd have the main room. But if you got called to the back room, and I did, all the coaches are in the main room. And I would play this game every single weekend hoping that I could go have a match with no coaches. Come back and be all sweaty. My coach go, what happened to you? I said, oh, I had a match. I finally got it. I got it one time. I was at Lock Haven University. I drew the Penn State kid, Calabretta, first round. We went in the back room. He had his coaches, Kerry McCoy, very impressive corner. I had absolutely nobody, but I wanted to play that game. There was just something that I thought would be cool about that. And sure enough, it did. I got the bout sheet. I'm walking back. My coach sees me. What happened? Oh, I had a match. Happened to beat the Penn State kid. Off you go. It was a cool moment for whatever reason. But I wouldn't expect everybody to be like me. And I got 3-4 cornermen. If you couldn't fill all those spots up. And I had a hard time, being around people that you really want to be with in your most vulnerable moment. I mean, I put my uncle in there. He never did one day of fight camp, but he came along with me for 3 world championships. And he was the guy that I needed to look to. Get the instruction from Clayton. Fabiano's going to work on the tactics. Be talking to you in between rounds, getting the breathing time. We kind of had it down. So I don't think that this is going to end the fight. I don't think Petr Yan is going to miss this opportunity, but it could be emotionally a hard thing because I don't know what his relationship is. Is one of his cornermen also a family member? Is it a father figure? How tight is his bond with his coach? Can he find the inspiration? But these are very personal things for Petr Yan, which is why we're all going to agree that we don't judge him, included if he can't make this date. If he's got a loyalty and a comfort level with his cornermen who he had a reasonable belief were going to be part of this exchange, and now they're not, we'll defer to Petr Yan. No hard feelings. But it's a unique position. I feel it's a very unique position to MMA. I just also feel if you look at the broader scope of sports on all levels, your coaches are generally picked for you. And then even once you have those coaches, they could get traded. They could get fired. They could get replaced. You still have to do the same job. We'll see how this plays out. But if I'm to make a prediction for you, this is going to be media. This is going to be a narrative. And Petr Yan is going to show up to fight Aljo Sterling.